I'm going to hand over to Eakin, who we've been sort of working together for a while. And over to you, mate, to run us through this.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Christian, and thanks everyone for joining this morning. Highly appreciate your time. I hope you'll find this useful, and please let's catch up at the end as well for any questions, or you can drop questions, and Christian can help me on the way as well. I can't see your text at the moment, but yeah, Christian will probably follow any questions on the
Yeah,
text as well.
I'll do that for you, mate. All good.
No problem. It's just a bit of an introduction, if I can move this slide. Cool. So who we are basically from Mineguard AI. I'm one of the co-founders of the company, and we started this journey a couple of years ago from our frustrations on conducting safety investigations manually, and also seeing across the industry different level of consistency and quality. With the rise of AI, we thought there's a massive opportunity to actually standardize um, and reduce time and also reduce bias and improve quality of our investigations. And which brought me to Jem, my dear friend. He's 20 years of enterprise level software architecture. He's the genius behind the tool, and we put our heads together and we built Instant AI, which we can show today or not. We'll see how we go at the time.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Jem. And obviously Christian is helping us to connect us to people that need solutions. But also in general, he has been extremely valuable for us as a strategic advisor as well. And we got the Core 30 award this year. So one of the two companies from Australia, and we've been working with multiple partners for piloting and deployment of our tools in the last couple of years and growing rapidly in the space. So I guess from the chat, I can already see a lot of people are already using AI for safety purposes, for safety tasks. In regards to investigations, I guess the most obvious opportunity is to save time. And probably the next opportunity is to increase quality by making sure we can have a better output by using generative AI. And as a lot of people said on the chat, AI can do 80% of the work, and then it's just you to review and approve. But then you can use AI to basically create presentations, posters from your case studies, summaries for executive teams, and basically you can even tailor it for certain demographics in regards to readability, or you can even create incident videos using AI now. So it's a very exciting space, and we are learning and growing with the new technology. And today we'll just share a couple of our learnings so far. So let's talk about the generic AI. A lot of, I guess, safety professionals are using generic AI, and these tools include basically your ChatGPTs, Gemini, Cloud, or Microsoft Copilot, which most companies now have access to. So you could run basically an investigation on these tools if your company is allowing sensitive information to go to these providers, and create an investigation output. Obviously, in this case, you need to know exactly what you're doing in regards to ICAM methodology, because your prompts will be important when getting outputs. So basically, garbage in, garbage out. It's the same case for garbage prompt in, garbage prompt output out from generic AI. So right now, you can actually upload your files to one of those tools, evidence files, and request investigation analysis. You can create, I guess, interview questions. And doing analysis, you can actually ask for contradictions or any missing information. You can basically get AI to either populate a report or review your report for quality. obviously, these are all possible, and I'm sure you guys are already using some of these features at Generic AI. I guess it is definitely worth using these tools if you have access to safely to put sensitive information, and it will basically reduce your time to conduct an investigation straight away by just following those couple of tasks. And you'll get more consistent and better reading outputs. And the tool you can ask questions to understand what else to investigate and can coach you as well. And obviously, if you are very technical, you could find ways to have multiple investigations in one platform to see if you can understand the path and historical analysis of your previous incidents. But obviously, there's a downside of using generic AI for especially safety investigations. So in most cases, if you are using uncontrolled generic AI, your data will be going to places where it probably shouldn't from your company's policy. And that's a very major concern for a lot of companies for data security. And also in the cases of privilege cases and some sensitive cases of investigations, it is a major concern. And the other challenge with generic AI is you don't necessarily have standard prompts unless you spend a lot of time to work on standardizing your prompts across the company, which is an initial investment. Usually you won't have that. And basically anyone, you could have 5 people running the same investigation with different prompts and they'll get different outputs. And that's a challenge to manage and a risk. And obviously some of the chatbots are insecure, so some will actually use your data to train their models, and you need to be all over their I guess standards for compliance for this before you actually input any sensitive data. And even beyond that, there are limitations as well in regards to understanding of your files with the generic tools, which I'll get to in a second. Most of the time when you use ChatGPT, you may have realized you uploaded a lot of documents, evidence files, but it doesn't click in some point where it sometimes feels like generic AI doesn't actually read the full document, especially if you submit a handwritten document that's quite large. There's more than likely the algorithm behind it isn't actually built for that specific task to really understand all of the context and inside the document. These tools are optimized for tokens and cost. That means they need to make sure that they use less energy than you provide, I guess, as membership to them. And they usually choose the headlines of your documents to actually make sense of them in most cases. And that's a risk you need to basically take if you're using generic AI for investigations. Not all of your evidence will be ingested properly. And beyond that, generic AIs won't have a memory of your document library, so you won't be able to connect your SHMS database or safety management documents. So it'll be a bit manual labor to make sure that you got those, and also can potentially miss some fine prints because of that. And also sometimes some generic AI often struggles to cite because they don't actually process the full document. You won't get accurate citations in some tools. So you need to be aware of these limitations when you're actually using it for production level investigations.
Just before you move on, mate, that one on the right-hand side, no memory of your document library, I can speak to that from a painful experience just last weekend where I uploaded a number of documents and asked it to create all these things, and I was way down in the history, and then it said, okay, it was going to run a report, and then it said, oh, you need to re-upload all of those things at the start because they're not there anymore, and it was very frustrating.
Mm.
I was back at
Yeah,
square one.
it's a common case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Christian, for sharing that one. Yeah, so obviously we already discussed some of the problems and challenges, and I guess the hallucination risk and AI being confident while being incorrect is a larger risk when you're using generic AI. And imagine your team is running different, I guess, prompts, which will also exacerbate the issue, and you'll still get inconsistent outputs potentially if you're using generic AI for investigations on a common basis. Yeah, obviously we already discussed about copy pasting real incidents and putting photos and diagrams to unapproved databases is an issue. Sometimes you can mix work and personal AI, so that's a common risk I sometimes do, which is frustrating. I have my personal AI subscription and a work AI subscription, and I sometimes mix them and put the stuff on the wrong AI, and that's a major risk. And we should try and avoid that as much as possible, especially in safety space where there's a lot of sensitive information. And then also, if you're not an expert user, you won't be able to prompt in a way to have guardrails to check the truth. And it's probably the biggest risk. Like if you're getting hallucinations back with not enough citations or accuracy levels, there's a large risk of coming up with the wrong root cause and actions that will actually disable you to prevent the reoccurrence of the incident. So you can actually de-identify the data and upload it, but then it's just a manual work as a bit of a workaround. You can use the AI for drafting, which is pretty powerful, as listed before. And you can create simple templates, prompt templates as well in some of these tools, and that could help exacerbate or resolve some of the issues I discussed. So I think there's still a room for the generic AI for safety tasks, but probably not for everything on a certain depth is probably the message. So as Mineguard AI, we realized this problem quite early in 2023 when these chatbots were getting built and popped up everywhere. And I think there is a need for, we strongly believe there's a need for safety AI tools where most of risks are managed for you. And therefore, you always get the highest quality possible from AI. And you have guide rails and workflows to actually continue your work. And at every step, a human is accountable to approve and review as well. So that gets us to the next half of, I guess, this webinar. I have a slide for Instant AI and SHMS AI, which is our two, I guess, flagship products, solutions. But today I'll just show you the Instant AI, where some of these risks or most of these risks are mitigated strongly. And SHMS AI, we can probably do another session later, Christian, where that's a knowledge twin of your SHMS documents, where you can do live compliance. And when you connect these two tools, they talk to each other. So SHMS can learn from incidents, and incidents can grab your procedures and principal hazard management plans, for example, into relevant incidents and check for critical control failures in your incidents. So our aim with Instant AI is to save time. And most of our customers declare 75% time savings of a full ICAM at every ICAM. And the tool actually helps you reduce bias with built-in features. And then obviously, as per generic AI as well, the output quality is amazing. So at the moment, we are deployed to 9 sites across 4 countries with 75 users doing investigations, and some of these companies include TapRooT and Peabody. I guess there's probably not a lot of point to talk about these ones, but I would imagine most of you are feeling this pressure on your work areas in regards to investigations, at least 1 or 2 of them. Please put in the chat if you see any different struggle or challenge, or if you have any shares on this. But yeah, the struggle is real, and it is a time-consuming process, and we all would like to do a good job. But I think enabling us with AI will help us. And let's have a look at the actual tool. Okay, if I can move screen. Cool. When you look into the tool, you'll see basically a simple plan of incidents. So these are the active incidents that we're working on. And because we don't have a lot of time, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but we will offer, free trials on your data very shortly as part of this webinar agreement we have with Christian. So I'll just show you very quickly. Normally I run this on in our demonstration, but on the right-hand side, you can basically upload your files, and these could be handwritten statements, and the supported files are listed basically here, where you can have basically multitude of file types. The tool will understand images and voice recordings, and also understand the voice of the video, and processes everything at the background with the highest level of sub-processes we have. And when I mentioned about generic AI can't deal with multitude of different types of product files to be processed when you upload them, we solve that issue with using the best possible extraction method for a given file type behind the scene. So that automates all of that risk and eliminates it completely. You even get a bias score and relevance score straight away when you upload a file. A bias score example is if you have a defensive language in one of the statements, the tool will pick it up and put a low score. And so this is to basically make sure that you are comfortable with the initial evidence that you uploaded. It gives you a bit of a summary that confirms basically it is fully ingested with the character count. You can very quickly get detailed summaries. This rockfall incident. These 2 tools in evidence collection are widely popular with our supervisors of our subscribers, so they can get immediate discrepancy analysis even on their mobile phone when they just take a couple of photos and witness statement photos and upload it in. And follow-up interview questions is probably the biggest strength that we built into Incident AI. There's a lot of science and development went into this tool, including 10 different criteria of questions that you would need to ask in a proper ICAM is built. And AI is actually picking up the ones that you need, depending on the discrepancies. That's very powerful. And we've seen extremely good results when you actually follow this process, ask these questions, and collect the additional evidence. The tools are extremely iterative, so you can put or delete evidence files to see how the outputs are evolving. And building a people in seconds is a lot of fun, but imagine this running as you actually have 2 witness statements, 2 photos, to 35, 40 different evidence files. The people actually grows with the evidence, and it's really good to see that as you rerun this. And it's always in the same format, the same way, which is powerful. And opportunity here is to democratize the investigations. That means even if you don't have a domain expert investigating, you can still get quite technical suggestions to collect as additional evidence file. And it is domain specific to what you have previously uploaded. And that's built in the product. So that really helps to deepen the investigation by finding those evidences. A lot of time and sweat went into timeline in Firefly. The tool picks up a comprehensive timeline automatically, does the work as done. But also if you have procedures uploaded or if you have our SHMS module, it will pick up the work as intended automatically and basically asks your common questions. If VAD meets VAI, the gap question starts. There's a contribution question. The biggest, I guess, strength that we have is AI will tell unknown if it doesn't know. And that's after a lot of trial and error trying to get that AI to do that. So at this example, AI doesn't know if this column is contributing to the incident, and usually means that you're missing an evidence file, which helps you deepen the investigation again if you think that's relevant to go and spend the time to find the evidence. Firefly is again, when you do manual 5 it's very common that we struggle at the, beyond the third why to come up with the reason. Sometimes it's because we don't have the past history or we don't have enough information. We found it's the same with AI. So if you're using generic AI to do 5 you need to make sure that you can actually find a way to get citations on where those whys are coming from, and a percentage level of relevance as well. So at the moment we cut that off at 80% relevance to the evidence. So we make sure that whatever AI outputs is evidence-based. So this tool gives you evidence bias, data bias, instead of human bias that we see usually on the ICAMs. And yeah, it will tag controls, put specific citations and also evidence references in that tool. In this version, we didn't limit the number of data table outcomes, but you can limit them. You can assign the codes automatically as well. Contributing factors, again, we didn't limit in this version on all contributing factors, but then we ask about the relativity rating, which gives you an idea of what else to investigate potentially and reiterate the whole thing as an opportunity. Root cause analysis basically comes from the highest relativity ratings. So the design of the tool is top down. So you need to make sure you're comfortable with the evidence before you go on to the next tool to get the best outcome without needing to edit too much. But every tool we have has the human control design by editing and approving. Otherwise, if you don't approve a certain output, it doesn't go into the presentation or the report that this produces. And that's the control that you get a timestamp. Every section is reviewed and approved by a human. And that's the important design pillar that we carry. Yeah, you get an action basically for every contributing factor drafted automatically. And again, very iterative. You can run again with more evidence if you'd like to. And these tools, I didn't mention, at the moment they are running on ICAM, but we have different versions and capability to customize them. So if you're running with a different investigation framework, we can tailor the outputs, but also we can also change the format and types of questions you ask. An example is sometimes our customers request a critical control check tool, and we would build that. So that's all customizable. When you're happy and approved all your outputs, you can also get a Q&A quality check. Usually managers or supervisors really like to check this one, make sure before you're finalizing the ICAM if there's any gaps or not. So the outputs gets assessed quite harshly, and also if you have edited too much, you can still compare the outputs against the evidence, and will give you the alignment issues with them. And if you relied on a certain evidence, this will highlight, which is really helpful. And then any gaps on evidence will highlight as well. So there's a lot of support to teach people how to actually do a really good investigation.
I'll jump
Yeah,
in there, mate. I know that there's a number of people on the line and a number of safety professionals, and I've been in this case where we need to do quality checks on ICAMs. And I know there's some organisations I'm being part of where we get together a whole group of managers and we sit around and someone comes up and presents, and then it's this subjective thing. So those two in particular, I know that people in those group roles and who need to do quality checks, that just does that in what, 10 seconds, as opposed to all that time and energy we currently spend.
Yeah. And because it's on the same platform, we actually do a dashboard of your qualities as well. So you can actually have a quality dashboard for all of your investigations, which is also quite powerful to keep track on in regards to trends. So I just showed you the PDF report, which is a simple report that could be customizable to your looks. But the bottom tool is quite exciting. It's one of the latest tools we built. You can actually get a summary, redacted summary, so no sensitive information on the summary by design. It gets the learning, I guess, summary, and then does you a slide plan, and actually then goes and builds the full presentation pack to share the learnings. And we feel like this is the most important tool we have that gets us closer to our mission. Because how often we do a fantastic ICAM, but we fail to communicate learnings. And I'd like to change that. So you can get basically your 8-slide, very consistent summary for your investigations. And the language is adjusted to make sure that readability is priority. That's probably it in regards to Incident AI demonstration that we've done in probably record time. And yeah, come back to the presentation. So how did we solve some of the shortfalls of generic AI? So we have a guided workflow, and you don't need to deal with prompts. You don't need to be a prompt engineer, and we support that with years of experience and customer feedback across many industries. Yeah, obviously AI sorts out the reasoning very quickly. If you have the right evidence, you'll get really good outputs. Report automation and learning share presentation is powerful. We can change the framework of the tool. So we actually have a research document, research page on our website. Please have a look at it. We've changed the framework of ICAM to safety to lens, and we've got some very interesting results. And some companies have these frameworks, and we would adjust our tool accordingly. And we can build your ICAM codes or certain codes for your failure types, and you can then have dashboards. Interviewing coach is very powerful to actually deepen investigations, because we found witness statements are not always reliable, but the interview, if it's done right, it will save you a lot of time in Incident AI. And yeah, completing the then to check the act cycle. The tool completes that by giving you very harsh criticism on sometimes its own work. And that's again another check on potential risks of AI, right? So you need to check AI against AI. Yeah, so immediate savings, some feedback from our customers. This is one of our largest customer, and they estimated 30,000 hours of savings across 11 sites. It's very common, usually for a mine site. We save about 3,000 hours in average. And this company decided to actually invest in time as KPIs to do more proactive work. And that's really exciting for us to see. So we're not actually taking work away from people. We're just reducing reactive work and converting that to reactive safety time in the field for verifications and building the culture. Yeah, so as part of this webinar, obviously, partnership with Christian, we would like to offer an experience for you. So please jump into that form. If you'd like us to use your own data, we can drop a folder. Obviously, please make sure you have rights to share that file and maybe pick an easy one. But we can run a demonstration with your own file and talk about the next steps as well.
So that's been very popular. Where so for example, a company will they've done an ICAM and they've still got all their existing data, and then they just do the test in real time. Okay, give their source data to the AI platform and see what unfolds. And often there's some interesting learnings unfold very quickly.
And
Yeah.
we'll share this pack as well if you'd like to do that later. I
Yeah.
think we can take questions now. If you've got any questions, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, mate, maybe before we do that, can you just go back to that slide? So if people were, how you had the summary where if people were going to use one of the chat GPTs and you had the what it's useful for and what it's not, maybe that's just also useful because there might be some people that just to summarize that one. And then I'll look at, I think there's two questions in here and I'll go and find them. But I think that's important, isn't it? You've demonstrated one platform, which I think is really, really good, but it's not the only way, but there's some caution which you've talked us through. If people wanted to do it, it can work, but you just got to be careful and can do it up until a point, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. So there's obviously there's a lot of benefits in using AI, any version of it. And I use generic AI all the time for many aspects of my work. I think that the challenge is probably just using sensitive information with unapproved prompts are the biggest risks, and data security is is probably the other big risk. But for everything else, if you'd like to get a quick summary, get a quick readability score, you can use AI, any generic AI. If you'd like to create a presentation, there's a lot of presentation tools that you can just drop your document and get a nice presentation. But obviously, in any of those cases, just need to make sure that the AI is approved to be used and the data security is in there, and you got guardrails, people reviewing the outputs in a disciplined way after use.
Yeah. Thanks, mate.